For years, Lil Woody's name has been synonymous with street controversy, fierce loyalty, and deep secrets. Linked to Atlanta's elite rap scene, he once seemed completely untouchable. Yet behind that massive influence lay a quiet storm heading straight for disaster. A sudden, tragic turn of events would soon alter his reality forever. He preached a simple message: pray through the chaos, seek redemption, and trust a higher power for ultimate protection. Let's look at the tragedy that broke him. In late 2025, a father stood in an Atlanta cemetery, staring at a tiny baby casket. Inside lay his infant son, a precious baby boy who had only been on this earth for 2 short months. As Kenneth Copeland, known to hip-hop fans as Lil Woody, stood there amid flowers and family under a heavy cloud of grief, he wasn't just laying his infant to rest, he was burying him, alongside his parents and grandparents, all gone before their time. 5 generations of one family, now resting together in that single, tragic plot. Only one man remained standing above them all, bearing the crushing weight of total loss on shoulders already burdened by years of street violence and legal drama. That haunting image of a young father over a tiny casket, in a graveyard where his entire family rests, defines his tragic reality. Subscribe as we uncover this story. Forget the court memes and the viral witness stand clips of him saying "I don't recall." This silent graveyard is where his true, unbearable reality lies. We know his newborn son passed in late 2025, barely 2 months old, a child he lovingly called Junior. He broke the news in November 2025, posting photos of his baby with the caption, "No grieving parent should ever have to draft." These were words that no amount of street status, trial fame, or online swagger could have ever prepared him to write. Let us sit with this for a moment. A man rarely at a loss for words could only manage a heartbreaking apology to his dead child, writing, "I'm sorry I couldn't save you." A broken father, staring at his quiet baby, apologizing because deep in his sorrow, he felt he had failed his ultimate duty. He felt he should have protected this fragile infant, a protection he never received growing up on the streets. In his raw posts, he added, "Emma misses you." He admitted to feeling utterly hollow, even questioning if life was still worth living. As commentators, we can see this was no performance for social media views. This wasn't a play for internet engagement. This tragedy broke him in a way that federal prison, a massive RICO court battle, and a near-fatal motorcycle accident never could. He was completely shattered. This was his baby, the one person on this earth destined to carry on his legacy. He was supposed to be living proof that his survival, his rehabilitation, and his hard-earned second chances were actually worth it. Our newsroom notes that the official cause of death remains unconfirmed. While some outlets pointed to a sudden medical crisis, no official statements were ever released by the family or local authorities. What remained clear to everyone was a father's immense grief. He openly shared how his newborn son had inspired him to become a better man and turn his life around. He credited this baby as his motivation to change, to leave the street life behind, and to seek a better path. It was the reason he quit hip-hop, and the reason he fought to survive a brutal motorcycle crash that almost claimed his life just weeks before the birth. In early December 2025, he buried his son, sharing the heartbreaking footage online. We saw a tiny casket overwhelmed by massive floral wreaths, followed by a slow, somber procession heading to the grave. The family's raw, visible anguish radiated through every single video clip he posted across his social media platforms during this incredibly difficult time. Then came the most heartbreaking video of all, showing him walking through the cemetery with slow, heavy, and deliberate steps. His family plot lay ahead, filled with headstones of those who should still be alive today. He stood before the resting places of loved ones taken far too early from this world. Major outlets documented the massive wave of support. Like this video as we cover how the hip-hop community paused to acknowledge a pain this deep. Yet online condolences, no matter how genuine or numerous they are in your comments, cannot heal that deep wound. They can never fill the silence of a home meant for a newborn, nor can they warm an empty crib. Some tragedies simply cannot be undone. What makes this devastating loss feel almost cosmically unfair is the timing of it all. Just weeks before his child's birth, Kenneth lay unconscious and bloodied on an Atlanta street following a terrible accident. He survived a near-death experience and vowed to God, his family, and himself that he would change. He promised to step up and be the present, loving father he never had. On August 31st, 2025, he was riding a dirt bike through Atlanta during a public event. Riding without a helmet, he was just enjoying the high energy of the crowd on a night where danger seemed miles away. Then, a sudden, Violent crash threw him onto the pavement, leaving him completely motionless and unresponsive in the street. As he bled on the asphalt, witnesses shockingly pulled out their phones to record video instead of calling for emergency help. He later posted, "So, as you know, I was in a motorcycle accident. I didn't know what happened to me." Footage of him bleeding and unresponsive on the concrete went viral immediately across social media. Let's look at how the web reacted. As rumor mills spun, rap blogs quickly declared that Lil Woody had died. Like and subscribe for updates. Welcome back. Today, you and I are looking at a story where tributes flooded social media. And for hours, rumors spread unchecked. But Kenneth Copeland was still alive. Instead, he lay in a hospital bed with stitches torn over his eye, his shoulder bone fractured, severe road rash scraping his skin, and soft spots on his skull where intense swelling made the bone feel like bruised, overripe fruit. The crushing agony in his chest and back was so brutal, he felt as if someone was standing directly on him with their absolute full weight. In his own words, "I just know I woke up in the hospital seeing Atlanta police surrounding me. First thing I thought was, damn, what did I do?" But then he shared a realization that transformed his entire perspective, a statement that echoed even louder after the tragic loss of his infant son. He said, "And then it did not hurt. It did not hurt. It hurt when I woke up. But going out did not hurt. Leaving did not hurt." That realization shook him. It terrified him far more than any street rival, prison cell, or courtroom ever could. The fact that dying was completely painless. Death is instant. 1 second you are here, and the next you are somewhere else entirely. The survivors are left to carry every ounce of the agony you never felt. Next, he spoke about the one reason he absolutely could not afford to die. A new life was growing inside the woman he loved at that very moment, a baby boy who could be born any day now. He admitted, "Leave? I cannot. I mean, it is every man. A son on the way, a reason to stay alive." It was a reason to stop riding dirt bikes, stop loitering, and stop risking his life so his kids would not grow up fatherless, just like he did. He wanted to break that cycle. He promised to be present for every football game, every milestone, every single moment. When that son finally arrived, and if you are enjoying our coverage, hit that like button. It seemed Woody's story was mercifully turning towards something beautiful. A man who had lost everything was given a second chance. Something small, perfect, and full of a rare hope that only comes once in a lifetime. But less than 2 months later, that hope vanished forever. To truly understand the massive weight Kenneth Copeland carries today, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We must understand why losing his infant son was not just a single tragedy, but the final crushing stone on top of a mountain of trauma that started building when he was only 9. You and I must go back to Atlanta. Back to Bankhead. Back to the very first time life decided this young boy from the South Side was going to learn the hard meaning of loss, whether he was ready or not. The Bankhead boy on the stand. Kenneth Copeland was born July 25, 1991, in Atlanta's rough Bankhead area. These are the Atlanta streets where corners witness far more funerals than the local churches. Here, the lessons shaping a young man's life are never taught in classrooms or found in textbooks. They are learned through heavy loss and consequence, by watching everyone around you vanish one by one. It means struggling desperately to stand tall while the ground beneath your feet continuously shifts, cracks, and swallows up every single thing you thought was solid. And for young Kenneth, that ground crumbled before he was even old enough to realize what stability meant. Around 2001, when Woody was only 9 or 10, his father lost his battle with cancer and was suddenly gone. One day his father is there, and the next, there is a permanent void in the family that no one can fill. The father who was meant to teach him how to navigate this world, the role model who was supposed to stand beside him and demonstrate what it truly means to be a man, was lowered into the cold earth while a young child stood watching, trying to process a tragedy that fully grown adults spend entire lifetimes failing to understand. And that type of heavy loss, especially for a boy raised in a neighborhood where negative influences are always closer than positive ones, is something you never truly recover from. It is a wound that never heals. Instead, you carry it every single day, like a heavy stone in your chest that never gets lighter over the years. His mother became his entire world after that tragedy. She acted as his anchor and compass, the sole voice that could cut through the chaotic noise of his environment. Raising him alone, she held their lives together as best as she possibly could, while the walls around them constantly threatened to collapse. But then she passed away as well. Woody has openly admitted that her death was the exact moment that pushed him completely over the edge. He recalled, "I was a wild kid, doing everything under the sun, and while doing it, I would constantly use God's name in vain. This is what deep, unguided grief looks like when it takes root in a young man who has absolutely nobody left to guide him. He has openly shared that her passing left him terrified in a way he could not even explain at the time. Her death stripped away the single person on this earth who had any real control over him, the only one who could pull him back, look him in the eyes with maternal authority, and say, "Not today, Kenneth." Without her powerful voice and presence, absolutely nothing stood between him and the endless bad decisions the streets of Atlanta offered. He remarked, "When the devil knocks us down, God helps us get right back up," adding, "Let me tell you, do not believe in anyone." Soon after, his grandparents passed away as well. Both of them were laid to rest in the family plot that now holds 5 generations of Copelands: grandfather, grandmother, father, and mother. Each headstone marks a chapter of tragic generational loss. As you and I look at this family tree, we see Kenneth survived it one funeral at a time. Unsurprisingly, the streets did not wait for his grief to clear before dragging him in. He was charged as a felon carrying a firearm after an assault rifle incident at a recreation center. His sentence was 51 months in federal prison. Imagine spending 4 years and 3 months behind concrete walls that do not care about your trauma, or the fact that nobody ever showed you a path that did not end in a cell. Reports indicate he survived a near-death experience inside those walls, just weeks before his scheduled release. It is the kind of trauma where you constantly scan every hallway and face, unsure if you will survive. That fear does not simply vanish when the prison gates finally open. It follows you out. But he did walk free in 2019. Once free, he poured his energy into music, signing with independent Atlanta label Freehand Entertainment and releasing his debut mixtape, I Am the Streets, in March 2020. Songs like Penthouse, Homicide, and Hell Yeah offered raw, unfiltered street music. This artist did not have to invent pain because he was still wearing it. But as commentators, we knew music was not what would make the world notice Lil Woody. No, that spotlight belonged to 3 letters and the longest, most expensive, chaotic trial in the modern history of Georgia. In May 2022, a Fulton County grand jury indicted 28 individuals on 56 counts under the state racketeering law. At the center was Jeffrey Williams, known to the world as Young Thug, and his collective, YSL. Prosecutors argued this music group was actually a violent, criminal street gang. The defense insisted it was purely a record label. Right in the middle of this clash, caught in the crosshairs, stood Kenneth Copeland. He was not a defendant on trial. Instead, the state selected him to serve as their star witness, the key piece they needed to link Young Thug and the organization to specific acts of violence, including the 2015 murder of Donovan Thomas. But if prosecutors assumed Woody would just walk into court and take the stand, and deliver a clean, cooperative story to wrap up their case, they clearly did not know Kenneth Copeland. Subscribe as we follow this trial. When called to testify in June 2024, Woody refused and pleaded the Fifth. This silence immediately earned him a contempt charge and a brief stint behind bars. When he finally agreed to testify under an immunity agreement, what unfolded over the next weeks was one of the most chaotic, viral spectacles in modern legal history. We watched as he was quickly declared a hostile witness. He met every single question with the same answers: "I do not recall, I do not remember, and I do not know." He yawned, fell asleep on the stand, and openly argued with the very prosecutors who were relying on his testimony. He complained of prison conditions, stomach cramps, and poor hearing, telling one lawyer she discombobulated him. He even fired his own defense counsel right there from the witness stand. Let us look past the memes and viral clips for a moment to see the truth. We must recognize that Woody was making admissions that dismantled the state's entire case. He admitted on the record that he lied extensively to police in 2015, fabricating stories about Young Thug's involvement in crimes he knew Thug had nothing to do with. The motive was devastatingly simple. He did it to avoid jail. He told investigators anything they wanted, including that Thug killed 19 people, because they wanted a big fish and he was willing to hand them one to save himself. As observers, we watched this trial devolve into a spectacle far beyond his testimony. Jury selection alone dragged on for 10 months. This was followed by multiple judge changes, including the removal of the judge after a controversial secret meeting with prosecutors and Woody. Judge Paige Reese Whitaker eventually took over the proceedings. On October 31st, 2024, Young Thug pleaded guilty, receiving a 40-year sentence with credit for time served. He was released on probation under strict terms, including a ban from Atlanta. By December 3rd, 2024, this historic trial was officially declared over. The remaining defendants beat the major charges. Not a single murder conviction came out of this massive case. Woody walked away, branded with labels he can never escape: a snitch and a hostile witness, deemed far too unpredictable for either the defense or prosecution to trust. Yet he carried a burden the internet never asked about. Like this video to support us. He was finished with the court drama, finished with the streets, and finished playing the character the media expected him to be. But the universe, or whatever force scripts a life like this, was not finished with him. Not by a long shot. Because within months of the verdict, everything collapsed, bringing a tragedy that spans 5 generations. Let us examine what happened. In a quiet Atlanta cemetery, 5 generations of the Copeland family rest together in the same plot of earth. Grandparents, parents, and now a baby boy who lived for less than 2 months in this world. Only one man visits that cemetery, carrying the heavy burden of all their absences inside his chest, like heavy stones that never seem to get any lighter, no matter how many times he prays or tries to tell himself it is fine. That man is Kenneth Copeland. That quiet cemetery serves as the physical proof of a tragic reality. When we strip away the media headlines and viral memes, we finally see the real cost of his story. A lone survivor standing among the graves, wondering why he still breathes. Then came a motorcycle crash in August 2025. Barely 24 hours after leaving the hospital, bandaged up and in visible pain, Woody did something absolutely nobody expected. He went live on YouTube, completely ignoring the usual pursuit of clout, streams, or views that content creators constantly chase. Subscribe to our channel if you respect his powerful message. Instead, he spoke of God and community. We observed him reflecting on the children on Atlanta's streets, noting how they remind him of the young boy he was before everything went sideways. Our reporting highlights his horror at bystanders on Peter Street filming his bleeding body, instead of calling an ambulance. As commentators, we find it tragic that he had to explain something so basic to his online audience. Our team tracked how his rivals celebrated online when they assumed he was dead. We saw silent critics suddenly gain the confidence to post online disrespect, only to delete their words the moment news broke that Woody had actually survived. Our analysis shows he spoke not with anger, but with an exhausted understanding. We see a man so accustomed to toxic energy that it no longer surprises him, only disappoints. Next, we analyzed his statements on Young Thug and forgiveness. Let us consider his point that labeling someone a snitch online is easy when you have never spent a terrifying night in a cell, wondering what the man next to you is plotting. In our view, his livestream commentary cut straight through the digital noise and struck a deep chord. We are witnessing a commentator's ultimate surprise. He refuses to hate a person the public expects him to despise, despite their names being linked to his darkest public chapter. Our editors believe he refused because he has seen the devastating results of hate firsthand. He has survived the wreckage that street codes and bitter rivalries leave behind. From his hospital bed, suffering from a fractured shoulder and severe head trauma with pain racking his body, we report that he resolved to stop contributing to that ongoing cycle of violence. He was done participating in a system that our newsroom watches destroy young black men, sending them to early graves or prison. Our coverage confirmed his departure from the rap game, shifting his focus to active advocacy work against gang culture. We noted he promised to stop riding dirt bikes and staying out after dark, refusing to gamble with a life he felt had miraculously been spared for the 5th or 6th time. Then came a brief, promising glimmer of hope. For a fleeting, fragile moment, our report suggested that things might finally be turning around for him, as if all his past trauma was leading to a single opportunity to make a real change, giving him the chance to be the father he never had, raising a son who would avoid the harsh lessons Kenneth Copeland learned. But then, that hopeful window shattered completely and irreparably. Our headlines soon revealed a survivor standing in a cemetery, carrying a profound heartbreak that made all his past struggles seem minor by comparison. Yet, we observed that Kenneth Copeland refused to let that grief destroy him entirely. He stood at that graveside in December 2025, but kept moving forward. Our records show him posting, praying, and appearing on streams and in church every Sunday morning. Now, you and I might find it easy to be cynical. It is simple to judge a man who has buried his parents and grandparents, along with his infant son, while surviving incarceration, a massive federal RICO trial, and a near-fatal motorcycle accident, and wonder why any higher power would permit such tragedy. We know Woody himself has openly asked that very question. Our reports show he openly questioned everything, from the Bible to whether faith is just a coping mechanism people use to make their darkness feel a bit less terrifying. Yet, this skepticism did not break his spirit. Instead, it produced a quiet, deep faith rather than the loud, performative belief we often see trending across social media platforms. We see this quiet strength allowing him to stand in a family graveyard holding 5 generations of his bloodline and still find the will to walk out instead of giving up. In 2026, Woody remains active on Instagram as Woody Self-Made, sharing tributes to his late son, positive updates for followers, and sharp analysis of the very streets that raised and scarred him. Our team confirms he remains a dedicated father to his other children and regularly attends service at Calvary Temple Missionary Baptist Church every Sunday. He still hosts YouTube broadcasts, offering powerful commentary for anyone who is willing to listen and needs to hear what survival actually sounds like when a person finally speaks the absolute truth. As commentators, we assert that the story of Lil Woody is not about a man crushed by his circumstances. This is not simply the tale of an Atlanta rapper who became a viral meme during a court trial. Our editorial team believes we must look beyond cheap labels like snitch, liar, or hostile witness that social media uses to brand him, because those titles do not even begin to describe his actual reality. Ultimately, this is a report on a man who faced more trauma than most could endure in 10 lifetimes, yet refused to stop living. We see an individual who laid his loved ones to rest in the same earth, yet still wakes up daily seeking a genuine purpose to keep going. Our reporting shows the pain remains. The grief has not vanished. The trauma has not simply faded away. His physical and emotional scars, some buried so incredibly deep that no therapy could ever reach them, have not fully healed. But he holds a powerful conviction that the same God who witnessed every single one of his devastating losses is the very force that will keep him from completely losing himself. Whether you and I share that faith or not, we must both acknowledge one undeniable fact about this entire situation. Kenneth Copeland is still standing, still speaking out, and still praying over a graveyard that holds 5 generations of his direct bloodline. He continues reaching out to troubled youth, fulfilling what he views as his divine purpose. This is no media stunt or manufactured storyline. This is a highly resilient man who absolutely refused to let his darkest moments dictate his final chapter. And our newsroom finds his ongoing survival both shocking and incredibly profound. Make sure to like and subscribe, then check out our other hip-hop news updates on your screen. Thank you for watching.